Greetings, YouTube. So I saw an article yesterday on Boing Boing that discusses the fears that parents have about the risks their children are in danger of, as opposed to the actual risks that children experience. So the top 5 things that either harm or kill children in the real world are, in the order of importance, starting with number 1, car accidents, homicide, usually committed by a person who knows the child, not a stranger, abuse, suicide, and drowning. Now, then there are the 5 things that parents fear that their children are going to be at risk from. Okay, these are not based in reality. These are what parents have as fears. Now, these 5 things, and starting with number 1 and going down: kidnapping, school snipers. I only assume they mean school shootings. I think there may have been one case of an actual sniper involved in school shootings, but that was an isolated case. Number 3, terrorists. 4, dangerous strangers. And 5, drugs. I'm assuming they're rolling alcohol into that list as well, because it is a drug and it is a danger to children, minors, who get access to it. Now you'll note that of those 2 lists I just read you, there is no overlap. That the things that parents are afraid of have no bearing in reality whatsoever. And I think this is a really stellar example of the mass media terrifying the parents of America into believing things are dangerous that are not dangerous. As I said in the past, the cafeteria I take my breaks in every day has a television on. It runs 24/7. We can't turn it off. I can't escape it. I don't look at it, but I hear it. I got nowhere to go. And they play the same legal cases every single day. You get updates, of course. It's a little different from the day before, but it's the same cases. This missing child, this murdered child, this person on trial, this case still under investigation, over and over and over. It convinces Americans that the whole world wants to either kidnap or murder, or kidnap and murder their child. When in reality, no one's really interested in your special little snowflake. The reality is that in America, annually, approximately 200 children are legitimately kidnapped. Stranger kidnaps. Half of those never come home. That is a shame. It's a crying shame. It's a tragedy. But there are not thousands. There are not tens of thousands. There are not hundreds of thousands of these kidnappings. There's 200 of them. Alright? That's bad. But it isn't a person behind every bush and shrub and tree. It is not people trying to stalk your child because you take them out in public. Your child is the safest they can possibly be in the world being raised in America. Now, the list of things that actually get children injured or killed: car accidents. 3,000 kids a year die in car accidents. I don't know how many are injured. So that's many times more than the number who are kidnapped and murdered. Homicide by someone you know. Abuse, suicide, and drowning. Now, all of these are things that the parent can think they have control over. When they're driving that car down the road, they get the feeling they're in control of the situation, even though something can literally blindside you out of your control and injure or kill your child. Homicide. And if it's someone you think you know people. You think you're a good judge of people's character. So if you know them, they must be safe. Abuse. Most people, children who are abused by relatives, family members, close acquaintances. All right? And again, you think you know these people. You trust them. You think you have control of the situation. Suicide. Who do you know better than your own child? You have control of that situation. Drowning. Well, you know, you don't live near a lake or a river or a pond. Why worry? Except there are buckets, and there are toilets, and there are tubs. But these things are inside your home. You think you have control. Now, the 5 things that people worry about. Kidnapping. No control. School snipers or shootings. No control. Terrorists. No control. Dangerous strangers. No control. Drugs. Assuming that the child is doing the drugs when you're not in present, again, no control. So these aren't fears about real things. These are fears about not having control. Now, one of the problems that this has caused is that males, in many cases, are afraid to be in public anywhere near children. I'm afraid to smile at a kid in public if I'm not with my wife. I spoke to a child the other day while waiting outside of a bathroom. The girl was about to walk into the restroom where my wife was. I said, that room's occupied. My wife's in there. I went to the bathroom, and as I'm leaving the Dunkin' Donuts, her father gave me a dirty look because I had spoken to his kid. I'm in plain view of everyone in the room, just informing his kid that there's someone in that bathroom. His kid was pleasant. She said thank you. I said, yeah, my wife's in there. That was the extent of our conversation. But he didn't know me. I was a potential dangerous stranger. I pinged his parental radar. Now the reality is, his child is probably safer with me than him, because I'm not going to ever hit a kid. Ever. I'd jump off a building first. That can't be said for many parents. I won't spank a child. I won't use harsh language around a kid. So when I say that children are probably safer around me than their own parents, I'm not making that up. In fact, I even know someone who once told me that his kid was safer around me than him, because he knew that when I was around, he wouldn't spank his kid, because he knew I'd get in his face over it. So that was an inaccurate judgment of the situation by that parent. But you see, I was a stranger. I was someone he couldn't control. And that is what the media has turned us into. Terrified, whimpering cowards. It has turned us into simpering fools. Terrified that everything around us is out to get us and kill our children. But it's not true. I wish people would understand that. That you are 10 times more likely to be struck and killed by lightning than you are going to be to die by the hands of a terrorist in the United States. And I don't know, I'm not afraid of lightning. I'm not afraid of terrorists either. I understand this. I realize that nobody gets out of this alive, and I'm not going to worry about things like that because it's just a waste of my time. I wish more parents would realize that. But they've convinced themselves that one time they let their guard down will be when their child dies. And the reality is, of course, children do die. They get injured, they get killed every single day. And they're going to every single day. No matter how much you wrap your child in bubble wrap, no matter how vigilant you are, your child's going to get hurt and your child may die. Crippling them with fears implanted in them by you isn't going to make your child a happier person. It isn't going to make their development into a healthy teen or a healthy adult any easier. You need to look at the situation, understand risk assessment to a certain level, and realize that there are times you can't do a darn thing about it. And don't instill fear into children when it isn't necessary. A healthy understanding of fear is important. The book, The Gift of Fear, is a brilliant book, and I recommend it for everyone. But being afraid all the time, I know what that's like. I was raised by an alcoholic, abusive parent. I know what it's like to be afraid all the time. It's no way to live. And you shouldn't be imposing that on your child for even a worse reason, because you love them and you're scared they're going to get hurt. Accept the fact they're going to get hurt. Accept the fact they may not make it to adulthood. But let them be people. Let them be children. Teach them caution. Teach them reasonable understanding of the world around them. And accept that there are risks. There always have been. There always will be. Don't make them afraid.